Good morning. Today is Sunday, December 3rd, 2023, and this is the weekly Bitcoin price forecast, looking at where Bitcoin went in the last week and looking at where it could potentially go in the future. So this week, we closed out the month of November. We're now into December at this point. So if we take a look here, we've had 3 positive months in a row. So that's pretty good. September, which is rare to have a positive September. That's generally the worst month for Bitcoin. October, also known as Uptober, so that's to be expected. November, also generally a pretty good month for Bitcoin as well. So seeing 1, 2, 3 in a row, that's pretty promising. And at this point, we've essentially gotten up to almost 40,000. We have broken the $39,000 barrier. So it's good. It's good to see that we're continuously moving up to the upside and hitting new yearly highs pretty much every month after month. So we hit a new yearly high in October and November, and it looks like we've already done it in December, but potentially could continue on with that trajectory into the end of the year. So we don't know how it'll be by December 31st, but something that we'll keep looking at. So that's a pretty good sign. You have some pretty strong momentum going into the end of the year and then going into next year as well with the almost imminent release of the ETF. So that is probably going to be somewhere around the January timeframe. Again, no one ever knows exactly what the date is going to be, but it seems like all things are pointing towards an early, Q1 release of the ETF. And again, that'll bring billions, tens of billions of dollars into the space, which could absolutely elevate the entirety of crypto, but especially Bitcoin. So, they would have absolutely legitimized it at that point. So looking at the weekly chart, let's see what happened. Again, we had this takeoff, right? So this was into October where we saw the huge move, and really the moves have been kind of muted since then. And it looks like we're starting to pick up again. So again, major move here in October as well. You had a pretty big move at the beginning of November, but then kind of nothingness. And finally, you have this move right here starting at the beginning of last week, which was a pretty aggressive move to the upside, a couple $1,000s. So you went from 37,500 all the way to about 39,500. So a $2,000 move in a week. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. Is there anything else that I can look at here? We'll put the drawings back on. Just to kind of see where we're at. We'll take this Fibonacci off and yeah, so we've got a couple things here. So you have the uptrend line that's been kind of forming here that still hasn't been broken. It looks like it's breaking out to the upside. You do have this next zone at around 38,000 to 40,000 that looks like it's in the process of being broken. And then you have this long-term kind of support and resistance line that formed. So, it was resistance here. It came up, went down, came up, went down. And now finally it came up and continued up. It broke through. You had somewhat of a pause here when it touched this line. So it tapped down, went up, came down. And then coming back, it was support here, came up to the upside. Broke down before it came up to the upside, which really kind of reacted off of this. But, you can see some different pauses right at the $38,000 level. So yeah, let me see a bounce off of here and then a bounce back up. So yeah, it's a pretty decent level to look at, 38,000. And again, it looks like at this point we're breaking that zone and kind of seeing what we can do. Let me see if there's any moving this way. Like if we take a look here, somewhere in this range, it looks like we could potentially see a shakedown this way. So it's like it depends on how you draw the lines, right? But you had a bounce off of here. You had a breakdown here. You came up to this line, bounced off, came to the downside, and now we're headed to the upside again. So that would put us somewhere around 43,000. I think we could see another pullback. And again, it depends on the angle that you draw the lines at, but you could see a run up to about 43,000 before a pullback. Again, this has been a pretty aggressive move. We went all the way from 27,000 up to 39,000 in the span of a couple weeks, about 2 months or so. October and November was the majority of this move, and now we're into early December. So maybe even if we kind of pulled it here, you're looking at a couple different scenarios. So you're looking at a potential run up to this line and then coming back down maybe to 32,000 before continuing back up to the upside. I think that'd be pretty healthy. Again, this has been a pretty big move. Or you could kind of, remain stagnant here until it's ready to pop off that way. So, I don't know. It depends on how things are looking. It depends on how things are looking at this point. If we look at the, where is it? Parallel channel. So I know that is something that has absolutely been forming since the beginning of this year. So right here, you have that channel, and right here. So we're at the top of that. We're at the top of that channel. So you could see the boom, down, up, up, down, up one more time. And then we're kind of right here. And that could be the resistance that you need to get it back down to 32,000. Somewhere in that range, I think that you probably built up some solid liquidity here. It's probably a lot of orders going to the upside. And now you could see that push back down. Maybe not all the way down to 32,000, but somewhere maybe the bottom of this range. But there is a decent amount of probably imbalance to clean up here. I don't think it'll get way back down here at probably around 31,000. The demand is pretty high, but I don't know. We'll see. That's what I'm projecting at this point. Again, things have started to slow down moving up to here and haven't really accelerated that much. So there is a good opportunity, even if we just look at it from the moving average perspective. Get down to the 100 moving average, that's 32,000. If you get to the 50 moving average, you got back down to 35. And you get down to the 200 moving average, you're all the way down at 30,000, which would also line up at the bottom of this channel. So interesting, something to look at. I will take it a step further in this one, and we'll kind of look at the Bitcoin dominance as well. Looking at Bitcoin dominance, seeing what's what. So let's zoom out a little bit. This is Bitcoin dominance, basically just seeing how much of the actual market cap Bitcoin is responsible for. At this point, it's sitting right at a cozy 53%. So ever since the beginning of the year, really at the end of last year, it's just been on a tear to the upside. Bitcoin has been pretty much eating up the market. So it's like you went from 40% of the market all the way up to 53%, 54% in a year. So this has absolutely been a Bitcoin year, Bitcoin season. You see, we came to this, the 50 moving average. I think we could potentially come up to about 59, 60,000. Because then at that point, you will have this moving average that meets this area right here, which was the last major place where it dumped off. Not saying that history has to repeat itself, but I think it could happen in that way. So you have that moving average come down here. Bitcoin moves up here, makes another push, and then continues down here. Basically, it'll start moving down once other tokens like Ethereum and all these other altcoins start to pump higher. Because again, Bitcoin moves first, then Ethereum moves, then the other large caps move, and then the small kind of micro caps they move the hardest, and it also happens the quickest. So this Bitcoin stage is absolutely the longest stage of the process. But again, we're already a year into that movement up to the upside. So really, like the next about probably a year and a half to 2 years, it's going to be a lot of movement in this way. So Bitcoin moving up here and then coming back down. So there's your dominance. Again, you have, if we look at the trend line, yeah, you've got it looks like it's about to bounce off that way and then come this way. So we'll see. We have already seen this move up, which is kind of broke structure here, and it broke this moving average. So that was pretty significant in October. And coming back down, it could retest that area and then continue on to the upside. So we'll see. Again, that's Bitcoin dominance. Just seeing what potential area that we could come into. So looking at this, a bounce, not really a bounce here, but a bounce here, and coming back to test this. I guess it's the 100 moving average. No, that'd be the 200 moving average. So broke to the 200 weekly moving average. So that's a good sign that it could continue to the upside. The only other chart I want to look at is Ethereum Bitcoin, ETH BTC, which is Ethereum priced in Bitcoin. So that has been on a down slope for quite some time. It kind of ranged. You got to the top of here in September of 22, and then it just continued to move down that way. So Ethereum has been getting cheaper and cheaper to buy in Bitcoin, pretty much. So it's been in terms of Bitcoin. So you look at it like this. You had this area, this uptrend line that it was moving towards, and then you had this downtrend line that it was moving towards, and then it finally in October broke to the downside. So it broke a couple areas. It broke the 50 moving average. It broke the uptrend line that had been forming since, I don't know, June of 22. That was the second tap, and then the third tap happened around here. You see it kind of paused out here for a second, and then it finally broke down to the bottom. So 50 moving average, uptrend line. There was a support line here. So if you look at it, let's say this red line, it broke down to the downside, came here, paused for a quick second, came to the upside, shot off again as a support, broke down to the downside, came back up a little bit, tried it, couldn't do it, came to the downside. We didn't see this line again until 2021, and we saw one bounce, two bounce, and then move off to the upside. Forgot about that line entirely. And then you had another bounce. So this is a pretty significant line here. We're sitting right at, I guess that's 55,000. What is that? 0.05 Ethereum per Bitcoin. Well, it takes 0.05 Bitcoin to buy an Ethereum pretty much. So I think that's pretty much it for the most part. Let's take a look. So at this point, what we could see is, like, again, Ethereum continuing to bleed off Bitcoin, but that will change eventually. I mean, you see these periods where it runs up like this, and matter of fact, this didn't even go all the way back up to 2017, which you would have seen a major run up here where Ethereum just absolutely took over the market. So you see in 1 month, that moved, gosh, did it double? Yeah, it doubled in a month. Or Ethereum got twice as expensive in a month. And again, that's just a measure of where we're at in the bull market. This is one of the KPIs that you want to look at just to see what the actual progression is. But right now, it's absolutely bull season. Bitcoin season, I should say. It's Bitcoin season, and we'll continue on that trajectory as long as we continue on it. So probably will be that way for a little while. The dynamics may have changed a little bit now with the ETFs and a lot of this institutional adoption that we're seeing. But again, time will tell. Time will tell. We don't know how this is going to turn out. But again, what I do know is all signs are pointing to the upside. Ever since I started these videos in April, nothing about my thesis has changed. Nothing about my idea that we're just going to absolutely see this massive upside. It's almost written at this point. And everything that's come out since then has been nothing more than to kind of validate that idea. So I'm optimistic. I'm absolutely optimistic that we're going to have a great year next year. We had a great year this year, honestly. It's a fantastic year for cryptocurrency in general. And moving into next year, it's going to be even more exciting. So we've gotten past the boring part. We've really gotten past the boring part at this point. So now it's just time for us to actually kind of take major action going into next year. See a lot of movement. So we had a fantastic early start of the year, and then just like a rocky middle part of the year with not a lot of movement, and then the end of this year, it looks like we're continuing on that trajectory. So all is well, all's good in the hood for cryptocurrency, and we're just going to continue watching it. So again, this has been Chris Talks Crypto. For any crypto based resources, check out christalkscrypto.com. Join the Pulse on Crypto Telegram group, and I will see y'all on the moon. Take care.